the Barefoot Poet. I am the Barefoot Poet from the Barefoot City. I have laid languishing at the bottom of staircases cluttered with litter, liquor bottles, and leaves, my tongue reaching out of my body like the spirit within, reaching for the eternal bliss of unknowing. I have drunk the nectar of nothingness while hoping to glimpse time, paralyzed like my body bonding with concrete. I am barefoot and broken, all for cheap forgetting. I am the Barefoot Poet from the Barefoot City. I have laid upon odorless leaves and clouds of soberless unknowing, while knowing time is drifting, undressing my breath. The moment a poet is born in the rubble, wet leaves resting against bare feet. I have journeyed to dark places, the bottom of staircases, all for cheap forgetting. I have loved a man, platonic chords play tunes of remembrance. Why am I barefoot? I have loved a man, but never told him his habits were bad. The ground feels this burden. The cold concrete has no sympathy. I am barefoot, and I am a poet. Okay, this next one is, just to give you a little background on it, it's just about my never-ending battle with juvenile diabetes since the age of 13. And it's titled, Lovely War. I promise to never leave you, and I know you'll do the same. I feel as though I need you, my strange pleasure, my lovely pain. I was a teen when you came into my life, uninvited like a lunging pike. Yet somehow you gave me something real, something tangible, something eternal in this life. You and me were made for each other like souls were made to live forever. Since the age of 13, intertwined as winter climbed into spring, I was an empty canteen, waiting to be filled by the world, shaping me with opinion and perception. Then you came like a barrel blast, giving me feelings of rejection, the feeling of hospital sheets scratching my skin, dwindling in a world alone, like a boy lost 1,000 miles from home, woven into my being, becoming who I thought I was at a time when my self-concept was just a seed. Your invasion hit me like starving cannons, blasting my fingertips with finger pricks, quaking my body into its worst shape, pale complexion, chest burned, feasting on my stomach, ambushing self-love until I fell headfirst. I thought I was an ironclad, indestructible, unshakable, built to last. But somehow you breached my surface, and now I am the hunted. My heart beat erratic, for this war that grows shows no end. And I am but a war-worn soldier in dire need of drink and bread. Yet here we are, you and me, destined to be. The two of us will never change. You came looking for me, but all you found was resistance. And I shunned you for years, not acknowledging your existence. Stubbornness on both sides of the battlefield, showering the land with deafening battle cries, until time wore out my strength, and you lunged at me, splitting my insides with your bayonet blade. This is about a friend. I wish I could have been there. I wish I could have been there as a violent force to force you outside yourself. Perhaps then you would have seen yourself in a new light, a new dimension. What past voices painted with a broad brush was a false conception of self. Every action outside produced internal reactions. Now you've gathered thoughts like children gathering rocks, and you've gathered the world's opinions, wearing them like socks. Yet you've walked barefoot for 3 decades, poverty-stricken in a system that defines value by pocket size. I wish I could have been there as a violent force to force you outside yourself. Perhaps then you would have seen yourself in a new light, a new dimension. Your land quaked in November's melancholic hearts, a child born blind, chiseled in exile, swimming in the dark with reptiles at your bedside, rearing fumes with the face of a father figure. The fallacy swung its sword, cutting deep and planting rage. How strangely spoken into thin air, tight roping on shoestrings, memories in an ash jar. I wish I could have been there as a violent force to force you outside yourself. Perhaps then you would have seen yourself in a new light, a new dimension. With every day that passed, you held injustice like a sickness, dug deep like the roots of your shame. The grip of the gargoyle ripped through every artery and vein, and you slipped like a wet petal falling from a wilting flower. Now you're left with no facade, ascension to heaven on wings woven by the wounded hands of a god. A sword in the soul. Destroy all the bombs in the world and war will still exist. For war exists internally, covering the core of humanity, clothing the poor in tragedy. Satan's strategy, divide the classes, divorce the family. The roots grow deep down to the dark of earth. The sword in the soul is nothing more than the mark of birth. Machiavellian politics dominate the calloused consciousness of mankind. This uber ego separates the people like body parts in a landmine. War will never end until the war ends within. Appearances are reflections of aggressions and pain. Children become orphans and wives widows in a world of woes where men worship Cain. Can we come to an agreement? Man's nature is peevish. Rather build an altar of idolatry and worship Cain than Jesus. Yeah. Cain being the symbol of violence. Cain. Rising from the ashes of concrete where I stumbled along, for so long held captive by the fear of becoming something new, crawling on all fours, sifting through the syringes that bristled every step. A journey of 1,000 miles is 1,000 tears, and to arrive at destination, one must rid oneself of fears, the fear of being changeless. And though the earth changes, I refuse to walk, imprisoned by self-pity and self-hate talk. Look at you, riddled by the wounds of a needle, bruises that gleam off the stomach, thus beginning the birth of an image. My self-esteem began to plummet, so I crawled out from under the rock and found solace on the street, a place to soak in freedom from feelings of self-defeat. I gathered with the godless, the forgotten odd kids who ditched their backpacks for blunts and untaxed cigarettes. Silently becoming another image, I slowly drifted into a vortex of shame. I wore it on my sleeves, unhidden like my face, at war with a disease that built an image from self-hate. Surrounded by sea sharks, encircled by red, I spewed blood and felt the teeth marks bulge upon my head, opening the chasm, a deep distance between me and the real me. It's hard to see the skyline when you can't stand, and I've been crawling for so long, plus there's too many buildings in my way, like the many fears I feel, the turmoil that sears my flesh away. The maze is made of many quadrants, so many choices on this plane, and time is only sensed to arouse the many failures that I've made, how my identity was tangled, twisted, curled like tendril tips, assailed by a tenebrous culture of teens in which I sought an exodus from non-existent self-esteem, but I never fit in. I was a pacifist, pumping insulin in my veins. Yet somehow I conformed to the crowd, and the crowd's image became my name. I crawled on all fours for so long, refusing to walk, in fear of losing the baggage, bewitched by the devil within, who fed me innumerable lies, until I grew sick of the fear that kept me crawling in disguise. I thought change was futile, until I fully accepted my faults. Now I rise from the ashes, walking, bulletproof in my thoughts. Thank you.